Happy Days ran from 1974 to 1984, 10 years of a 1950s Milwaukee that never existed anywhere but a studio lot in Burbank, California, and the living rooms of everyone who grew up watching it become the most watched show in America. Of the 9 cast members in this video, 3 are gone. 6 are still here, living out very different versions of the lives that began at Arnold's Drive-In. Henry Winkler was 28 years old when he first put on the leather jacket. He is 80 now. One person in this cast walked away from the show while it was still running and built something afterward that made Happy Days look like the opening chapter of a much longer story. That part comes near the end. Get comfortable. Some of what follows lands harder than you might expect. Number 1. We have Marion Ross as Marion Cunningham, the heart of the Cunningham household, the woman who made domestic constancy feel like something worth sitting still for. In 2026, Marion Ross is 97 years old. She retired in 2018 at age 89 and came back in 2024 to reprise her voice role as Grandma SquarePants in SpongeBob SquarePants, because retirement, for Marion Ross, has always functioned more as a suggestion. She published her memoir in 2018. At 97, she has outlived her on-screen husband, her on-screen daughter, and a substantial portion of the television industry she helped build. She was 45 when Happy Days premiered, middle-aged stardom arriving after 2 decades of near misses the show's audience never saw. She appeared in all but 2 of the show's 255 episodes. In the 1960s, she was divorced and raising 2 children alone on television day rates. Happy Days found her just before she had fully stopped expecting it to. After the show, the critically praised CBS drama, Brooklyn Bridge earned her 2 more Emmy nominations in 1992 and 1993, a show most of the Happy Days audience missed entirely. She later appeared as the formidable grandmother Lorelai Trix Gilmore in Gilmore Girls. What most viewers never knew, she was born Marion Ross and changed the spelling of her first name at age 13, because she had already decided it would look better on a marquee. Marion Cunningham ended when the final credits rolled. Marion Ross kept going. Through Brooklyn Bridge, through Gilmore Girls, through SpongeBob, through a memoir written at 89. And that continuation, across more than 70 years of professional work, is the truer and more complete story. Number 2, we have Tom Bosley as Howard Cunningham, the armchair patriarch, the man who gave the show its moral foundation every time Fonzie threatened to pull the whole structure sideways. Tom Bosley died on October 19, 2010, in Rancho Mirage, California. He was 83. The cause was heart failure, complicated by a staphylococcal infection. He had been battling lung cancer for some time before the end. He was born in Chicago on October 1, 1927. When the show premiered in 1974, Bosley was 46, a working actor who initially turned the role down, then changed his mind after rereading a scene between Howard and Richie that moved him in a way he had not expected. He is one of only 2 cast members to appear in every one of the show's 255 episodes. After Happy Days, he played Sheriff Amos Tupper on Murder, She Wrote for 4 seasons, then Father Frank Dowling in Father Dowling Mysteries, playing a Catholic priest with complete conviction despite being Jewish. He was married to dancer Jean Elliott from 1962 until her death in 1978, then to actress Patricia Carr, who survived him. What the show's audience never knew, before Happy Days, Bosley had already won a Tony Award. In 1960, he originated the role of Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia in the Pulitzer Prize-winning Broadway musical Fiorello, stopping the show every night for 2 years. Hollywood did not immediately come calling. He kept working anyway for another 14 years before the role most people remember arrived. Howard Cunningham never needed to be more than a decent man in an armchair. Tom Bosley never needed to be more either, and in an industry that rarely rewards the steady, there is more grace in that than most people give it credit for. Number 3, we have Anson Williams as Warren Potsy Weber, Richie's earnest, perpetually optimistic best friend, the one who always believed he was about to sing his way to something better. Here is the thing most people never knew. Anson Williams's real surname is Heimlich. His father's cousin was Dr. Henry Heimlich, the physician who invented the Heimlich maneuver. The family changed the spelling specifically to distinguish themselves from the famous branch. The man who played the affable drive-in regular grew up in a family quietly adjacent to one of the most consequential life-saving techniques in modern medicine. Born on September 25, 1949, Williams was 24 when the show premiered. He appeared in 221 episodes and received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He is 76 in 2026. After Happy Days, he moved entirely behind the camera. More than 300 hours of television directing. Beverly Hills, 90210 across most of the 1990s. Melrose Place, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Lizzie McGuire. He published a memoir, Singing to a Bulldog, in 2014. He has been married 3 times, most recently to Sharon Meharry in May 2023, with Don Most as his best man, and has 5 children. Patsy Weber looked like the sweet, slightly naive sidekick whose function was to be the least threatening person in the room. Anson Williams turned out to be one of the most quietly productive directors in American television history. And that gap, once you know it, changes the picture you had of who was paying attention on that set. Number 4, we have Pat Morita as Matsuo Arnold Takahashi, the warm, good-humored owner of the drive-in who held the show's social center without appearing to try. Arnold was the place everyone came to. Born Noriyuki Morita on June 28, 1932, in Ileton, California, he appeared in 73 episodes of Happy Days between 1975 and 1983. He was easy warmth in a modest frame, and the show leaned on him the way you lean on furniture you trust not to move. What was hidden from every viewer watching Arnold in his diner? Morita had developed spinal tuberculosis at age 2 and spent 9 years in hospitals, much of that time in a full-body cast, told repeatedly he would never walk. He learned to walk at 11, and when he was discharged, an FBI agent escorted him directly to a Japanese-American internment camp in Arizona, where his family had been detained since the start of the war. He carried all of that inside Arnold's easy warmth for 8 seasons. In 1984, the year Happy Days ended, he was cast as Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid. He was 52 years old. The role earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He played Miyagi in 3 sequels. What very few viewers knew, he struggled with alcohol throughout much of his adult life, a history his daughter has written about carefully, connecting it to a trauma he rarely spoke about at length. He died on November 24, 2005, at his home in Las Vegas of kidney failure. He was 73. Everyone assumed Matsuo Arnold Takahashi would be Pat Morita's defining story. It wasn't. Wax on, wax off was. Number 5, we have Don Most as Ralph Malph, the class clown who ran on a punchline and a belief that he still had it, and was right often enough to make it stick. In 2026, Don Most is 72 years old and living in Boulder County, Colorado, where he relocated in 2023 to be closer to family. He performs regularly as a jazz and swing vocalist, touring with a 7-piece band and releasing records. His 2023 album, New York High, received strong reviews. This is what the second act looks like. Born in Brooklyn on August 8, 1953, Most was 20 years old when he landed Ralph Malph on his 3rd audition, dropping out of Lehigh University in his junior year when the call came. He appeared in 164 episodes across 7 seasons before leaving the show alongside Ron Howard in 1980. After the show, he deliberately told his agent to stop submitting him for sitcoms. He was not going to spend the next decade playing Ralph Malph in different kitchens. He took voice work, did theater, appeared in Ron Howard's 1999 film Ed TV, and then in his 60s committed fully to music. Married to actress Morgan Hart since 1982. 2 daughters. The thing no one knew. During his Happy Days years, Most released a pop album in 1976 whose single peaked at number 97 on the Billboard Hot 100. He discusses it with cheerful equanimity. Decades after Happy Days, Don Most still takes the stage with a full band, which means Ralph Malph never quite stopped existing, just traded the one-liners for the lyrics. Number 6, we have Erin Moran as Joni Cunningham, the kid sister who started as background texture and became, over time, one of the show's most honest portraits of a young woman trying to grow up in public. Erin Moran died on April 22, 2017, in Corydon, Indiana. She was 56. An autopsy confirmed the cause as complications from stage 4 squamous cell carcinoma of the throat. Toxicology tests found no illegal substances. The cancer had spread far more aggressively than anyone around her had realized. She was 13 years old when she was cast as Joni in 1974. Born in Burbank, California on October 18, 1960, she had been performing since the age of 5. The camera had known her face since before she could drive. She appeared across most of the show's 11 seasons. After Happy Days ended in 1984, she was 23 and already a veteran with no clear path forward. She took guest roles through the 1980s and 1990s. By 2010, her California home had been foreclosed. She and her husband, Stephen Fleischman, eventually settled in Indiana, where she was diagnosed with throat cancer in late 2016. By her own account, in a 1983 interview, producers had been pressuring her from age 15 to lose weight and become what she called this sexy thing. She found it unsettling. She went along with it anyway because when you are 15 and working, that is frequently what you do. The industry she performed in for more than 2 decades never fully accounted for the cost of that. Joni Cunningham gave Erin Moran the audience, the recognition, and a decade of public warmth. Moran gave something back that no one planned for, a clear and specific reminder of what early fame extracts from a person when the industry decides to move on before they are ready to follow. Number 7, we have Scott Baio as Chachi Arcola, Fonzie's younger cousin, the show's second-generation heartthrob, the character whose function was to demonstrate that the original formula still worked when pointed at a newer audience. Before Chachi, before the teen idol years, Baio beat out 2,000 other child actors for the title role in the 1976 British film Bugsy Malone, directed by Alan Parker, alongside a then-unknown Jodie Foster. That early reach towards strange, textured material is the part of his story the years of magazine covers swallowed whole. Born in Brooklyn on September 22, 1960, Baio was 16 when he joined Happy Days in 1977. He is 65 in 2026. After Charles in Charge ran from 1984 to 1990, he worked in smaller roles, Diagnosis, Murder, a memorable turn as Bob Loblaw in Arrested Development. He spoke at the 2016 Republican National Convention and has remained a visible conservative public figure since. He married Renee Sloan in 2007. Shortly after their daughter Bailey was born, she was flagged in newborn screening for a rare metabolic disorder, ultimately a false positive. But the 3 months of uncertainty were, by Baio's account, the hardest period of his life. The couple founded the Bailey Baio Angel Foundation, advocating for comprehensive newborn metabolic testing in all 50 states. In 2015, Renee was diagnosed with a meningioma brain tumor she continues to manage. The cameras moved on. Scott Baio moved differently, toward fatherhood, toward medical advocacy, toward a political identity built on conviction rather than career, and built a second public life in the space where Chachi used to stand. Number 8. And this is the story promised at the start. We have Ron Howard as Richie Cunningham, the good boy, the show's original lead, the face that established what Happy Days was before the Fonz arrived and rearranged the entire architecture. Ron Howard was born in Duncan, Oklahoma, on March 1, 1954. By age 6, he was Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show, a role he held for 8 seasons. When Happy Days premiered in 1974, Howard was 19 and had already been working professionally for 17 of those years. In 1980, before the 8th season, he left. No scandal, no breakdown. He had decided he wanted to direct, and Happy Days, at the height of its popularity, was not going to give him the space to become something else. He walked away from the most-watched show in America because he had a longer plan. He had been quietly preparing since 1977, directing his first feature as part of a deal with Roger Corman. Night Shift followed in 1982, then Splash, Cocoon, Apollo 13 in 1995. In 2001, A Beautiful Mind won the Academy Award for Best Picture and earned Howard the Academy Award for Best Director. He was 47. He co-founded Imagine Entertainment with Brian Grazer in 1986. a company that went on to produce 24 Friday Night Lights and Arrested Development. He is 72 and still working. Married to Cheryl Alley since June 7th, 1975, more than 50 years. 4 children, including actress Bryce Dallas Howard. Richie Cunningham was where it started. 2 Academy Awards, one of the most productive production companies in American entertainment history, and a 50-year marriage later. That is where it went. Number 9 and last, we have Henry Winkler as Arthur Fonzarelli. The Fonz, the most imitated character to emerge from a decade of American television, the man whose leather jacket now sits in the Smithsonian Institution, the man who only needed to point at a jukebox to change the temperature of a room. In 2026, Henry Winkler is 80 years old. He finished a 5-season run on HBO's Barry in 2023, playing acting coach Gene Cousineau. The performance that finally, more than 40 years after Happy Days, earned him a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a comedy series. He was 72 when he won. He had been nominated 3 times during the Happy Days years without winning once. His acceptance speech was 37 seconds. He said later he had been waiting so long he was afraid to use up the time. He was born in Manhattan on October 30th, 1945. He was 28 when Happy Days premiered and was not the first choice for Fonzie. Gary Marshall wanted someone taller, blonder, more conventionally Hollywood handsome. Winkler walked in and created the character from nothing. No gum, no cigarette, just a quiet mythology of effortless cool. Marshall hired him that day. He appeared in all 255 episodes and donated Fonzie's jacket to the Smithsonian in 1980 while the show was still running. After the show ended in 1984, he was typecast completely and could not get acting work for 7 years. He turned to producing to stay in the industry. The roles eventually returned. Scream, The Waterboy, Arrested Development, Barry. He has been married to Stacey Weitzman since 1978. 3 children. His parents fled Berlin in 1939. Most of the extended family who remained did not survive the war. He grew up in a household that had escaped something the household did not discuss at length. During the entire run of Happy Days, at the absolute peak of Fonzie's cultural dominance, Winkler sat at every Monday table read, unable to find his place on the page. He was not diagnosed as severely dyslexic until he was 31, when his stepson received the same diagnosis and Winkler finally heard his own experience described for the first time. His first reaction, he has written in his memoir, Being Henry, was rage. At all the years of being told he was stupid and lazy. He has since co-written the Hank Zipser children's book series, 12 volumes, more than 2 million copies sold, drawing directly on that history. In 2011, he was appointed an honorary officer of the Order of the British Empire for his literacy advocacy. The Fonz carried cool through a decade of television and made it look effortless. Henry Winkler carried undiagnosed dyslexia through every single one of those table reads. And that weight, unlike the show, went unnamed for 30 years.